I am really, really, really excited to share more about how I've been using AI in my day to day life as well as in my business. And more specifically, not just using AI, but how it has been saving me time. I'm going to run through three different areas of my life that I'm using AI in and how it is saving me time 1 hour in each of those different areas. A little bit of context, though, a little bit of backstory. In 2025, I almost gave up on using AI just altogether in my business, especially when it comes to things like writing copy, because it was simply just not saving me time. If I'm being completely honest with you, I would have to reprompt and redo things so many times. It was taking me truly 2 to 3 times longer than it would have if I had just done it myself in the first place. And I am in the business of saving time. I'm in the business of scaling in the most sustainable way and working less and making more. That is really like, that's my entire model. That's what I've built my entire business on. And here I am using AI thinking, everyone's telling me that it's going to save me so much time and it's not saving me so much time. And I was just feeling so extremely frustrated. And it didn't matter how great my prompts were. It didn't matter how great my brand sheets were that I was, plugging into AI and saying, hey, here's everything about my business and about my offers and the way that I write. And I'd plug that in and it still would not give me the output that I wanted. And I almost hopped on the fully boycotting AI train, if I'm being completely honest. But then, dun dun dun. Then I found Claude Co-Work, and I do not say this lightly, and I don't say this about many things in my life or my business, but it has truly changed my life and my business. I came across Claude back in February during my retreat to Nashville with Kajabi. Everyone there, and I mean everyone, was raving about Claude. And I had never even heard of Claude. I was still using ChatGPT. My mind was on ChatGPT. I think I'd maybe had heard of like Gemini at the time and maybe Grok. My father-in-law uses Grok, I think. So I'd heard about other AIs, but Claude was not on my radar whatsoever. Everyone there was raving and I was having major FOMO. So that night, after everyone had, I think it was the first day that we were on the retreat, that night I sat down on my laptop. It was like probably 11 o'clock at night because we were out late. I downloaded Claude. I paid for the base tier, which I think is $20, and I dove in. Within the first hour of using Claude, I was absolutely sold on Claude. It was love at first output for me. And it makes sense because the way that Claude is set up is very different than ChatGPT. And I'll just talk a little bit more about that. But first, I just want to say, like, I'm not anti ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT does a lot of great things. And I shouldn't say just ChatGPT. OpenAI is like the official term, right? I think that's the official term. But ChatGPT, OpenAI, whatever. I just personally prefer the Claude interface, like how things look on Claude, how things are organized on Claude, like just the way that my brain works, it works better for me. And also on top of that, like I was saying, it was love at first output, meaning that the outputs that I was getting from Claude were like exponentially better than what I was getting from ChatGPT. Claude is a better copywriter than ChatGPT at the moment of me recording this. AI, all these different AI platforms, Gemini and Grok and Claude and ChatGPT, they're all fighting for like this top spot of like being the best AI. So things are rapidly changing and evolving over time, and different models are being released, on Claude and on ChatGPT. But again, at the time of me recording this, that is the case. And so it makes sense that it is creating better output because it's the top AI. All that to be said, though, that's not the entire reason that I am recording this podcast episode. The real reason that I'm recording this podcast episode is because most people are using AI at a level 1 out of 5, and they don't even know. Like, it's not even on their radar that there are 4 other levels that exist. And how do I know that? Because that was me. That was me in February. I didn't even realize that there were 5 levels of AI, and I was 100% stuck at level 1. And there is an entire framework for this. I credit this to Nikki Sweeney. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I came across this. She calls this the AI elevation model. And once I saw this, it like really clicked for me. Like I'd already been building through these different levels, but I just loved the way that she had laid this out. So I'm going to explain. Level 1 is prompting AI. So the AI exists. you're playing with different prompts, you're bettering those prompts, right? Like you probably have downloaded other people's prompts or even screenshot of people's prompts that they have on like their carousel posts or their reels where they're like, oh, use this, prompt and you're going to be able to have content that goes viral or whatever. You probably screenshot of those. I've done it. I've downloaded people's. I even have 10 chat GPT prompts that you can download, right? So then you open up, ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, and you're typing a question or you're pasting the prompt with your information filled in, and then you're getting a response, and then you're tweaking it 5 million times, or maybe that's just me, and then you're copying and pasting it somewhere, right? This is where 95% of people are at with AI usage. And it's just skimming the surface of what AI can actually do. So that's level 1. Level 2 is AI automations. And these are specific tasks that are made easier by AI. So you have AI that's helping you with one-off jobs like drafting emails faster or summarizing a document. Then you have level 3, which are AI assistants. And AI has access now to your tech stack. So any of those tools that you're using, like ClickUp or Telegram or I don't know, just anything that's on your tech stack, right? And it's woven into the way that you work. It's inside of your files, it's inside of your desktop, it's inside of your calendar, inside of your inbox. Then you have level 4, which are your AI workflows. And these are entire processes that are triggered and managed and maintained by AI automatically, where you set it up once and it runs without you. And the keyword there is without you. And so what this looks like, and this is a little bit more about what I'm going to give you the behind the scenes of what I'm using it in my business, is AI is literally going out and doing tasks. Like I will schedule these tasks and I'll say, hey, AI, I want you to go out and do this XYZ thing on this day at this time. And it goes out and it does that without me even asking it. And then you have level 5, which are AI operating systems. And these are business aligned AI ecosystems where AI is the operating system of your work. And it's going beyond just even scheduled tasks, where it's actually working based off of different triggers. Like, for example, if you have let's just say that someone purchased an offer and you do one-on-one coaching, and one of the things that goes out in the first initial like email to them after they purchase is a form that they have to fill out. Well, maybe they filled out that form and you get an email notification. Well, AI can be actively looking for these email notifications of people who are filling out these forms, and it can then take all that information and it can summarize it for you. It can send you a message and says, hey, this person joined, here's a summary of what they need, or whatever it is that you want it to do, right? So it's actively looking for these different things versus even being on a schedule, which is really, really cool. And then it's like basically having departments in your business. So if you think about, a big company, they have like the finance department, and they have, the social media department, and they have I don't even know what other departments, but you get what I'm saying, right? So that's the AI operating systems. That's like the big level where you have different departments that are doing different things. And they're also all communicating with each other as well. That's like the big, that's the, I guess like the biggest, well, it's level 5, right? So it's the biggest level, but we're not going to get into that because that's like next level type of stuff. I'm going to talk more about like level 3, level 4. All this to be said, ChatGPT, I was stuck at level 1. I was typing in the prompts, or I was typing in a question, I was getting a response, I was copying and I'm pasting and repeating, and Claude Co-Work pretty much immediately drops you into levels 3 and level 4. Not because Claude is like this amazing thing. And I will say too, at the time of me recording this, I think it was like 3 or 4 days ago, ChatGPT just launched the ability for you to do this on ChatGPT as well. So OpenAI launched this. If you want to stick with ChatGPT, there is the ability to do this in ChatGPT. I don't remember exactly what it is called in there, but I just know that it did launch. So just keeping that in mind. But ChatGPT, or I should say level 1 of using like a chat feature, and there is a chat feature inside of Claude as well. You're just chatting back and forth, right? You're manually inputting to not manually get output, but you're manually inputting to get an output, right? Whereas Claude Co-Work is actually doing the work for you. So I'm going to give you 3 different examples of how I'm using Claude to save myself 1 hour in 3 different areas. And this is really, truly just skimming the surface of how I'm using Claude Co-Work. So there's 3 different categories that I'm going to walk through. I'm going to walk through my personal life, my back end of my business, and then my clients. So with my personal life, the example that I have for you is I'm really using Claude Co-Work as my personal assistant. one of the things that I am having it do, and yes, I'm actually having Claude Co-Work do this. The reason why, a big reason why I wanted to record this podcast episode is because I go on social media, and because I'm so into AI right now, and that's really all I'm consuming and learning. My algorithm, of course, is only feeding me that. So you might not be seeing this, but what I'm seeing is a bunch of people who are like, "Oh my gosh, like Claude can do this," or like this AI can do this, or you should do this with AI. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like maybe I should do that with AI. And then I'm like, wait a second, like that is that actually going to save me time? Is that actually going to make me more money? And so there's a lot of cool things that AI can do, but just because AI can do it doesn't mean that you should do it. And so I think there's that discernment piece too when it comes to using AI that's really, really important. Where if you're going to use AI to actually save you time, then think about the tasks that are actually taking up the most amount of time in your business and use AI to automate those things, right? And so instead of me being like, oh my gosh, like AI can build me an app, like cool, let me go out and build an app. It's like, I think I've definitely been, when I first started to use Claude, I was definitely in the shiny object syndrome of like all the different things that Claude could do. And I found myself just not even wasting a bunch of time, like, yeah, I guess it was wasting a bunch of time. Let's just be real. It was wasting a bunch of time of me being like, oh, Claude can do this. And like, squirrel, Claude can do this. And squirrel, Claude can do this. And so I'd start a bunch of like these projects, or again, I'd see something someone was talking about in a reel of like, oh, you can connect Claude and do this and connect this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I should definitely do that. So, all this to be said, I'm really thinking about using AI in a functional way, meaning like, how is it actually helping me on a day to day basis in the way that I function in my personal life and the way that I function in my business versus being like, oh, yeah, like go out and build an app. It's like, yeah, Claude can do that, but like, do I actually need to be doing that? The answer is no. So, again, there's three different areas. The first area that I want to talk about is my personal life. And these are things, yes, I am actually doing and using Claude Co-Work for. So, a little bit of context here in my personal life. I love using Instacart to order my groceries. I've been doing this now for 3 years. And with 3 years, I have obviously a lot of data around all the different grocery orders. And so, what I had Claude go in and do, specifically Claude Co-Work, is I pulled up my Instacart and I said, hey, go look at all my past orders. Not every single one of them. I said, look at my past, I think like 25 orders, study all the things that I have ordered. And then what I also did is I fed Claude Co-Work all of the recipes that I love using. And I just have these as a collection on like my phone in Safari, like a bunch of different links to different like blogs of people who have recipes and whatnot. And then I also have a bunch of just like random pictures of like recipes that are like family recipes that my mom uses, and she has them in her cookbook, and I've like taken pictures of them. So I uploaded all of that to Claude. And I said, these are all the recipes that I love. And I want you to rotate through these recipes. But then I also want you to, look at these recipes and look at the things that we like eating. And once per week, I want you to find a new recipe that my family and I can eat. And because I love trying out new foods. Now, something about me, I love cooking. I find so much joy in cooking. I absolutely hate going to the grocery store and shopping, and I hate the planning of it. And so this was a really easy thing for me to hand off to Claude because I had it study my Instacart orders and I had it study all the recipes that I like. And then with me also sharing like the links to all these different blog posts of recipes that I like, and now knows like that it can go to like those creators and see other recipes that they have, posted and pull from those. So what I have it do is it studied all of that, but once it studied all of that, I created a scheduled task where on Sunday evening, actually I think it's in the afternoon, Sunday afternoon, it will go into my Instacart and it will meal plan for me. So I have it create I think 6 dinners and then a bunch of lunches as well. I don't have it create any breakfasts for me just because I typically eat the same exact breakfast every single day, but I have it create lunches for my husband and I. And then also, I have it do dinners, and I have it account for like any leftovers that we might have. So generally, like when we're cooking meals, it's a meal for 4, and so we will usually have leftovers. And so it has like a bunch of the lunches have leftovers. Some of the lunches aren't leftovers, but like if the meal is a bigger meal, then it'll account for like leftovers, and so we're reducing food waste. And then I also had it account for things like the snacks that we typically are eating and having it like vary those snacks even for my two babies and what they might like, and also having it account for food waste in terms of like if it's having me buy, I don't know, like broccoli, like maybe have it, I was telling it like maybe, okay, you want me, instead of having it be like broccoli for one meal, let's do broccoli for two meals during the week. And so that way I can use all of the broccoli instead of using only small amount of the broccoli and then letting that go to waste. So like things like that, right? So it's optimizing that, which is obviously optimizing the amount of money that it costs for me to cook food on a weekly basis. And this is only going to be refined over time, right? Like the more that I am using co-work to do this and sharing like my preferences and my feedback, the better it's going to get and the more precise that it's going to get. I know you might be thinking like, is that actually saving you time? Yes, the answer is yes. I would spend typically around an hour every single week meal planning, coming up with the meals, going and looking at those meals, looking at what is needed for those recipes, and then having to go and add those into my Instacart. And so it's saving me 1 hour a week. And then I just look at that on Sunday and I, just double check it. And then I hit submit on my order. And then my order comes on Monday morning, which is absolutely amazing. So that is one way that I have been using Claude Co-Work. And it has done a really, really, really good job. I've done this now for a few weeks and I'm like so extremely impressed by it. My parents were like, oh my gosh, that is like amazing. We need Claude Co-Work to be able to do that for us. So it saved me a lot of money and it's reducing waste and it's taking the part out of cooking that I dislike, which is the planning part. All right, now moving to the other area of my business, which is the second area, which is my back end. So thinking about really like all of like the tools and tech and analyzing and like just anything that's happening in the back end of your business, right? So this is not like my front end of my business. This is not my marketing. This is not my creating content or anything like that. The back end of my business is this next area here. And gosh, there's a lot of different things that I'm using it for on the back end. So it was really hard for me to narrow down and just give you, the things that were saving me just simply 1 hour per week, because really truly on the back end is where I'm saving actually the most amount of time per week. But I found three different tasks that together it's saving me 1 hour per week. And that is around analyzing. So I have AI analyze things like my ads. It's analyzing my Google Analytics, and it's also analyzing my Instagram social media content. So also my podcast too. So yeah, I guess that counts as social media. So like social media, ads, and my Google Analytics, between all three of those, it actually might be saving me more than an hour per week. But those are things that I have to be doing, right? Like I need to know the data in my business. But do I really need to be the person that's like analyzing those? No, I don't, right? Like I'm not an ads expert. I'm not a Google Analytics expert. It's even actually Google Analytics is actually kind of overwhelming when you go into there. There's a lot of different data pieces in there. And so I actually think that it's probably more efficient and better. I'm probably getting more from it, having Claude analyze those things for me. So that is another thing. And I just have it do that once per week. For my Google Analytics, my ads, and then my social media. And I tell it to look for opportunities for improvement and scaling, tell me what's working and tell me what's not working. So it gives me a report for that. So that's my back end. And then my clients are, I guess, kind of more so on the front end of my business. But my clients, one of the coolest things that I am having it do, and I think that this is a really cool opportunity for you as well. I think a lot of times as business owners, we're having these conversations with our clients, with our students, but we don't really do anything with those conversations. And I hear so often people are like, oh, I don't have content ideas, or like, I don't know what I should be creating, or I don't know, like how more of like the messaging part of it too, of like the messaging that your clients are using when they're having conversations with you. So I'm using Claude to message mine. What I mean by that is I'm having Claude review transcripts of calls. So as an example, I just hopped off of my mastermind call with my Overflow Mastermind gals. Just when was this? Yesterday. And what I have set up inside of Co-Work is it will check my calendar. So it goes into my calendar so it knows when I have all of my calls. And then all of my, like, I have like a little note taker that goes on my calls, and it uploads those notes into my Google Drive, and Claude is also connected to my Google Drive. And so it'll see the call on my calendar, and then it'll know that it needs to go into my Google Drive within 2 hours after my call, and it's going to pull out common themes around the questions that were asked on that call, and it's going to help me, it's going to give me ideas for content that I can create based off of topics that were talked about. And it also just keeps kind of like a running tab of those conversations, specifically so that I can know what types of offers that might be helpful for me to build, or different AI tools that would be helpful for me to build to better support my clients. So there's kind of like that running list. Not, I should say, it is a running list, and it's pulling from that, but it also gives me an idea, not like 5 ideas per week, because that doesn't make sense in terms of building offers. But it's taking note of the conversations, and week over week over week, it's pulling from these calls and these transcripts of these calls. And I also forgot to say my Telegram chats too, because that's where a majority of actually the conversations are that I have with my clients, is inside of Telegram. Anyways, it's pulling from all of that, and it's building this running list of questions and answers so that I can upload that into Maya AI, which makes my AI better and more precise over time, giving people even better outputs when they are chatting with Maya AI. And then again, it's pulling from this, and it's keeping like this running tab of like the common themes. And so that way it tells me like, hey, you should build an offer on this, because over the last 2 or 3 weeks, this is a common question that has come up. Or hey, you should build an AI tool on this, because this step-by-step process is something that you keep teaching over and over and over again. So that is the message mining part of it. And then with that also too, there's a lot of different things that I pull from those conversations. I also have it pull the like specific phrases around like the pain points that they have, and around the questions that they have, like exactly how did they phrase those questions, and exactly how did they phrase those pain points, because those are things that I can use when I sell on my Instagram stories, when I need to maybe update my sales page, and even inside of the emails, right, that I'm sending out in my newsletters, as well as inside of my funnels. So there's a lot that is going on there, but it's just pulling all of that, and it's just kind of keeping like this running tab, but in a very organized way, where like I'm not having to sift through every single question, or the entire transcript of these calls. Like it's doing all that for me, and it's just feeding this to me, which is really, really awesome. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but really, truly, this just skims the surface of everything that I'm using AI to do in each area. I'm currently saving myself about 5 hours a week. I would say that that's like definitely more on the low end of guesstimation. It just depends on the week, but about 5 hours a week in work with Claude Co-Work. Also, it reads my inbox every morning, and it drafts replies in my voice. So all I have to do is review and hit send. It acts as my mindset coach. So it's sending me daily prompts based on my current goals, whatever I'm working through in that season. So I'm telling it, hey, I'm struggling with this. Like, so it's feeding me that with stuff. It's analyzing my Instagram content every week, sending me a report of what's working, what isn't working. It's doing podcast interview preps for me too. So I just hopped off a podcast interview with Sarah, one of the past episodes, and it scans my calendar, and then it goes into my email inbox, and it gives me all of like it researches all of my different conversations that I've ever had with the guest, any background that we might have. So like if they're a student, when did they purchase my offers? How long have they been a student? What are questions that they've asked me? And then it also goes to like their website, it goes to their social media, and it searches and learns about them. And then it pulls in questions that I might be able to ask them. It pulls in their bio, and it pulls in links that I can put in the show notes. So that one's a really, really cool one. And I'm trying to think what other things. Gosh, there's so many different things that it is doing for me. I'm like giddy just talking about this, and just even thinking about, I have like a running list of things that I want it to do that I just haven't got around to automating. But there is just so many things. If you're not using Claude Co-Work, my suggestion would be to first track everything that you do for a week. Use Toggle Track. I love Toggle Track. It's a free one. You can download it on your computer. You can download it on your phone. Track every single thing that you do on a day-to-day basis. I know that sounds so tedious, but even if it takes you 30 seconds, track that thing, because you're going to be able to upload that to Claude Co-Work, and you're going to be able to say, hey, here's my entire week, all these different things that I tracked. And then you can ask it, what should I automate first? And then go from there. Now, obviously, the more data that you have, like week over week, it's going to be able to see those repetitive things that you do, the things that are taking up the most amount of time. But at least at a minimum, track 1 week and then download Claude Co-Work, upload that in there and ask it what you should automate first. That would be like the first thing that I would say. But if you want more information on how I'm using Claude and more in-depth information on how you can use it to save yourself a minimum of 10 hours a month, I'm doing a whole breakdown inside of Hour Rich. I'm going to link that in the show notes for you, and I hope to see you in there. It's going to be really amazing.